Hey there, crafty friends. Welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Melissa Miller. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Southern California, and today I wanted to make a card using 2 stamp sets that you can earn during SALE-A-BRATION. So we will be using the Sending Support, which are some great sentiments, and the Beautifully Happy. Both of these stamp sets are available to earn during SALE-A-BRATION with a $50 or $100 qualifying purchase. And so we've got our catalog, our little brochure here that started on January 5th. This is good until the end of February, until February 28th. And there are some really neat sets and paper in here. But I also wanted to point out to you that a whole bunch of new items were added on the beginning of February, good until February 28th. Now this one here, the Enjoy the Journey paper, that's the paper I used last week in my video. I've also shown you the Kindness Cards kit. That's really nice. I like that. That is a neat kit. And then you've got a stamp and die set here, Eden's Garden bundle that's available. But I want to point out to you, I will do a little hold. I will hold this screenshot so you can get a better look at it and see the numbers. Because all of these items are currently available per purchase, if you are going to use them as a SALE-A-BRATION reward, you must use the numbers on here. Otherwise, it won't work if you put it in the SALE-A-BRATION box, and then you'll get frustrated and you'll say, well, why didn't I get it? Because these are the SALE-A-BRATION numbers. If you use the numbers for these items that are in the catalog or online, you will not get it. So make sure you look at these numbers. I will post this little flyer here in the video and just hold it for, I don't know, 7 or 8 seconds so you can get a screenshot of it. So that's something to look forward to. Go ahead and check that out and see what items that you may like. So I decided to do a slim card today, a slimline card, because I still have slimline envelopes and I wanted to use them up. So we'll be doing our envelope and our card. And once I had the idea in my head, this was really, really simple. So for our card base, I've got a piece which is 7 1/4 by 8 1/4, and then I scored it at 3 5/8. So if you take it the long way at, actually that says 8 1/2. I'm sorry, it is 8 1/2. So my card base is 8 1/2 by 7 1/4, and then I scored it down the middle at 3 5/8. And then for my layering piece that we're going to be doing is 3 3/8 by 8 1/4. So what we need to do here is we need to get started and we need to find out where our center point is. So I've got my T-ruler here, and I am just going to kind of line that up, get it centered with my line here. And I'm going to make a line, just draw a really faint line for us to stamp our flowers. And it doesn't have to go all the way because we can kind of figure it out. And I'm hoping not to get my head in here. I don't want to do that. All right, so we've got our line to stamp our flowers. Now we need to figure out the center. And I've got it centered on my grid paper, so we're pretty good there. And I'm just going to make a little mark right about there so I know where to start my stamping. So we've got our images, and when I I Googled it. I didn't Google. I went on Pinterest to see what people were doing with this stamp set, and everybody was using this main image, which is really pretty. But I want you to also know that you can get more use out of your stamp set by just taking a smaller image and doing it multiple times on your card base. So that's what we are going to do. So we're going to bring in our Memento. I've got a lot of colors going on. Everything that I use will be listed and linked in the description below. And if you could please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment, I would greatly appreciate it. We are starting with our Memento, and we want to make sure that we get that inked up really well because we're using a block, so we only get one chance to stamp it well. So get that stamp really inked up. You know, we may end up on the struggle bus if I stamp one that doesn't come out real well, but we'll get through it. So get it inked up real well. And then we are just going to look at our marks on our card base. I've got my line and then my center point. We're going to look at that center point. You can start either on the left or the right, but we're going to take the bottom of our stamp, the stem. We're going to line that up on this line, and then we will stamp. Just like that. Nice pressure so you get a good image, and that's perfect. So we're going to go ahead and repeat that 5 more times. It's a pretty simple concept here. I just wanted to do like a rainbow card. There we go. And I am just looking through the stamp so I can see. I mean, leave a little bit of distance in there, not a whole lot. Make sure we get that inked up really well. And I'm trying not to get my head in there, but when you do this type of a project, you really do need to kind of get over it so you can line it up really well. That's a little closer than I would have liked, but that's okay. We'll work with it. I'm not going to hop on that struggle bus yet because I'm not using my Stamparatus. You know, sometimes you just need to stamp things with a block, and they do come out beautifully. But I just like the ease of the Stamparatus usually, because then I can re-stamp it if I need to. But we're going to go ahead and do it this way. And I'm looking through that stamp on the right-hand side, the flowers, the petals, so I can see how close I'm getting it to the other stamp. I think this whole card, once I had an idea in mind, the whole thing took like a half hour or less. It really doesn't take that much time once you get going. And if this video is longer than that, that's because I was busy talking. All right. I shadowed that one a little bit, but we're going to use it anyways. I wobbled it. I moved the block a little bit, but we're going to go ahead. So let me get this stamp cleaned off. In my lap, I've got my my microfiber towel that I use for cleaning my stamps. I just squirted some Stampin' Mist on there, and I'm just going to wipe that off so I can set it aside. So now let's get rid of our lines here. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase all my lines, and they come off really easy. There we go. So now what I want to do is I'm going to ink blend a little bit. So I've got my colors. Like I said, I will have all these listed. I've got Highland Heather, Pacific Point, Soft Seafoam, Pumpkin Pie, Crushed Curry, and Poppy Parade. So I've got my Stampin' blends here, or my blenders, and I'm not getting any purple on that one, so let's take a little bit. Now, on my sample, I was a little heavy-handed. I would like to try to not make my card here that heavy-handed. So I'm just going to give it like a little aura of color around that. I don't know how to say that, a little halo. And I can see that pretty well. And I am going to, tap off because I don't want it too heavy. I just want like a light shadowing. So let's see what we've got on our blue. I just want light color all around that. And for this blue, I think I used Balmy Blue because I didn't want it too dark. And I'm going to go really light. Just like that. And then I've got my green in my little mini blender here. There we go. See, I can see that. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but I can see the light shadowing on there. So what I will do here is for my orange, I used the same blender brush. I am just going to wipe off that yellow on my rag and pick up a little bit of orange. Now this pumpkin pie is very dark, so I want to make sure I have a lot of that tapped off. I think that's probably pretty good. And then I've got another one for my Poppy Parade. And I'm not adding ink to all of these if I don't have to because the ink stays on there. So you can use it next time if you don't wipe them off. I think we're pretty good there for our shadows. I may just want a little bit more of my purple in there. And I think that's good. That's really faint. That's what I wanted. That is much more faint than my sample. Okay, so now we will do our stamping. So what I did here was I've got my image already on the block, and we will just start with our purple. And it is very easy to see through these, so you can get it lined up almost perfectly. And I'm getting one shot at this, so I want to make sure that I have enough ink on that stamp. So I'm going to bring it down here a little bit so I can see it. Try not to get my head in there too much. And stamp. Nice firm pressure. And that's perfect. So then I'll wipe that off with the rag on my lap and move on to another color. And I am just going to repeat that all the way down. Okay, there we go. Now, if you did notice on the Poppy Parade, when you ink it up and then stamp it, it's really dark. And I didn't want that bold of a color. So what I did was I inked it up, I stamped off, and then I stamped it, and then I repeated the process. And so even second generation stamping twice Poppy Parade is not as dark as first generation, and I really liked that. So that's why I did that. I wanted it bright, but not that bright. So now what we'll do is we will bring in our old olive. You know what we need to do first, though? We need to make our grass. For some reason, that just totally slipped my mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a piece of scratch paper. I've got my old olive, and let's ink a little bit of grassy area down there. So I just took my scratch paper and I'm just going to line it up at the stems. I've got some stems showing. I'm just going to gently get some color down there. Just like that. And then we'll repeat the process over here. It's super simple. We're just adding a little color, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to put in a little grassy area kind of stamp down there, but I just want a little bit of shading. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got our old olive again, and let's go ahead and fill in the stem area around our flowers. And all of these line up really, really well. I'm hoping I got this good. I'm not looking directly over it. Oh, that's perfect. When you're doing this yourself at your desk, just get a good look right on top of it. And we'll repeat that for all the flowers. There you go. There we go. As simple as that. And then we can put that block aside. And then I've got the little image. So the image we just used was this image here. And now we are going to use this little tiny image for the center of the flower. And for the center of my flowers, I used Saffron and pumpkin pie. I used pumpkin pie on the yellow one, but I used the Saffron on all of the others. And again, this is super easy to line up. And there our flower centers are done. This comes together so quickly. Okay, so now we need to bring back in our old olive. I got some ink on my hand there. And what I did was I went through all my old stamps because I wanted it to be a little bit grounded here, but I didn't have anything in this stamp set that would work how I wanted it. So I encourage you to go through your stash. That's why we buy these things. Use up what you have. So I found this Winter Woods stamp set in my stash, and I am just using this little image right there. We are going to stamp our ground. And I do this full strength. I don't stamp off. So we are just going to stamp our ground right underneath each one. And it's okay if it's not straight. I just want a little grassy image underneath that flower. Just like that. I'm going to wipe that off and set that aside. And then I wanted grass. I wanted like blades of grass, but I couldn't find anything. So I went through my paper pumpkin past kits. I found Friends of a Feather from October of 2018. And I found this little image right here. That little image in my mind, I thought, okay, that'll work for some grass. So I got that out. I've got that on a block. And all I'm going to do is just put little blades of grass around each flower, and it just adds a little something to that image, to that scene that we've got going on. Same color. I'm still using Old Olive. And we are just going to add little blades of grass. I think it just gives it a little something extra. Just like that. And then if you want to, you can do one in the middle of each flower, just to get a little more dimension on your card there. And you can use any colors here that you want. You can do all blue, all purple, all orange, any color combination you want. I was just trying to go for something cheery here. So that's it. You know what? Now all we have to do is put it together. I already have my sentiments done, and on foam tape I cut off the edge of my dimensionals, but I wanted to point something out to you. Now I know I've done this before, but we're going to use our Stamparatus. I just want to show you because these are super, super fine line sentiments. So when you're doing white on a dark cardstock, you always want to use your powder bag. So I've got my paper in there all lined up, and I'm using both magnets because I do not want it to go anywhere. And don't scratch your paper with the powder bag. You just want to tap it all over. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to tap it all over, and then we will bring in our Versamark. Let me wipe off my hand. I've got powder all over my hand. And we are going to ink up our sentiments, and we're probably going to ink them up like 2 or 3 times because we're not going to put pressure. If you put pressure on there, you will smush your sentiment, the letters either on the ends or sometimes in the middle, and they just won't look nice and crisp. So let's ink that up again. We're just going to put a little bit of pressure. I know it looks like I might be pushing down really hard, but I'm not. Trust me, I am just giving little pressure. We just want to make sure that ink touches the paper and gets on the paper. So now what we're going to do is that's all inked up. We've got our powder on there. We're just going to bring in our embossing powder. Let's sprinkle some embossing powder on there. Okay, now we are going to heat that up. Okay, and there you go. So you can see we kept the integrity of our very fine font there. Let that cool off just a second because it is still hot. You want to let that cool off just a second. And then you can take your microfiber towel and you can wipe off all of that powder bag powder and trim those out, and they are beautiful. They came out perfect. So that is the best way to white heat emboss on a dark cardstock. So let's go ahead and get going here. So I've got my card base. We will finish our panel first, I guess. Let's do that. So let's add our sentiments. And like I said, this card really did come together pretty easily. We're going to just put that there. Hopefully I got that straight. Then we'll add our other one down on the bottom. And this is any kind of a card. You can use this if someone is struggling for any reason. You can use this as a sympathy card. You can use this as any type of a card. And then I've got our brushed brass butterflies. I'm going to bring those in. And we will attach these just randomly. I do like to put a couple around my sentiment just to bring attention to it. So we will do that. We'll put one there. And I love these. They already have the adhesive on it, and it is so easy to just pick them up and place them. Let's do another one up here. Let's make him go the other way. I don't think I really counted these. I just put them wherever I thought one should be. I think that's good. We've got 7 on there. We'll go with odds. And now all we need to do is attach this to our card base. Now I did use dimensionals because I wanted to give it a little bit of dimension. It is a pretty flat card here. So we're just going to add some dimensionals on the back. Now I did add more dimensionals than I probably needed, but this is a larger panel and I just wanted to make sure that it's, you know, has that dimension. Some people are probably thinking, oh no, she put way too many on there. But I did want to make sure that it had a lot of dimension. So let's bring in our envelope. We didn't do our envelope yet. And I would normally address my envelope this way with the return and then the addressee over here with my opening on the right. Because when your your envelope goes through the machine at the post office, it's going to go with the writing on the front. At least that's what I think. So I always try to do that when I use an envelope this way. So let's do that. We will stamp our flower. And I was just hoping for something different here. You know, like I said, I looked up some cards with this set, and I just wanted to do something that I hadn't seen. I didn't see anybody using this image. It was all the other image. So we've got our Memento on there. Let's bring in our blending brush. So we don't even need to ink it up because it's still got ink on it from the last time we used it. We'll just put a little bit down here for the grass. And let's make this purple. We will bring in our purple and we will add a halo of purple around there. I think that's probably pretty good. Then we'll bring in our stamps and we're just repeating the same process that we did on the card. And there you go. Our envelope is all done. Easy peasy. This card was so quick and simple. And we've got a matching envelope. And I did go ahead and stamp the inside. So we've got some days are harder than others. I hope today is one of the easier ones. And then I've got here for you always. And you can use this for any type of a card. It can be sympathy. It can be somebody who's just having a hard time right now, anything. And then if you are not into the slimline cards, you can always do one in a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I just did 3 colors, same thing. I've got my sentiments on there, just layered it with my inside sub-sentiment. And I just thought these were so easy. And I just love the colors. Colors are just nice and bright and cheery. They will make anybody feel better. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Please give me a thumbs up. Please like this video. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.